This show is produced by the Harwood Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and we love making this show available to you free of charge. If you'd like to help us keep it that way, make a contribution to our Karma Jar. For more information, visit our website. Tonight I'm making a delicious polenta with mushrooms. You know, polenta is a wonderfully versatile side dish. It's really easy to make. I've got a great way for you to make it so that it turns out really flavorful and nice and creamy. And then to top it off, some delicious sauteed mushrooms. Now, whenever I'm making polenta, I like to get all my ingredients ready to go before I go over to the stove. So the first thing I always get out is a large saucepan. It needs to have a lid, and in the saucepan I'm going to put in 2 cups of water and 2 cups of chicken broth. Now, a lot of traditional polentas are cooked just in water, but I find that if you add the broth, it kind of brings a nice flavor to it. Now, some of the other ingredients I want to have ready to go is 1 cup of polenta, and polenta is dry corn that's been really coarsely ground. I want to have a teaspoon of salt ready, 3 tablespoons of butter, and a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now, these ingredients are going to go in later, but I want to have them ready to go. I'm putting the pot on high heat over here on the stove. I've got the lid on, and I want to bring the broth and the water to a boil. Now, once the broth comes to boil, I have my whisk out, and I'm going to take the polenta and I'm going to slowly just sprinkle it in while I'm whisking. Now, once it's all in, I'm going to continue whisking, but I'm going to turn the heat down to a low and put the timer on for 2 minutes. And I'm going to make sure that I keep whisking that entire 2 minutes. Then while I'm still whisking, I'm going to sprinkle in the salt. Make sure that gets mixed in. Then I'm going to take my whisk out and I'm going to put the lid on the polenta and I'm going to set the timer for 40 minutes. Now, I've also gone ahead and set a secondary timer for 10 minutes. And when that timer goes off, I'm going to take the lid off, set a timer, stir this for 1 complete minute. Put the lid back on and set the timer again for 10 minutes. Now, we want to continue with this every 10 minutes, taking the lid off and then stirring it for a complete minute until that main 40-minute timer goes off. Now, in between stirrings, we can get the mushroom part of this dish ready to go. I like to use about 24 ounces of fresh mixed mushrooms. Now, you can use any kind that you like or whatever is available at the store. So today, I have some sliced shiitakes, some sliced cremini mushrooms, and then I also have some baby portobello mushrooms. I do like to have some mushroom that's whole that I can cut up, and let me show you why. You know, when you have all sliced mushrooms, it starts to look the same. So I take my whole mushrooms and I cut them in half, and then depending on the size, I'm going to cut them each half into quarters. So you can see when I go to cook these up, I'm going to get a nice texture of not only the sliced mushrooms, but some chunks of mushroom as well. And then I have 1 large shallot that I'm going to mince up. Now we're going to take this all over to the stove and start sauteing those mushrooms. But I did want to mention to you that whenever you are cooking mushrooms like this for a saute, it's best if you can have a really large fry pan. Here's why. Mushrooms have a lot of water in them, and we need that to evaporate out. So if we were cooking all of these in a small pan, it would take a lot longer for that water to evaporate and start to caramelize the mushrooms. So if you use a nice large fry pan or saute pan, it does the job really well. Now don't forget, when that 10-minute timer goes off, we have to stir that polenta for 1 full minute. Now I've put the saute pan over medium-high heat, and I'm adding 2 tablespoons of butter and about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now once the butter is melted, I'm going to add the shallot and let that saute for about 2 minutes. And once those start to soften, I'm going to take all my mushrooms and put those in. And I'm going to toss these around, and I'm going to let them cook for a total of about 10 minutes, and just every now and then I'm going to come by and give them a stir. Now you can see after about 5 minutes the mushrooms are starting to release their liquid, and you can see all the steam coming off, so that's great. That means that moisture is evaporating nicely. Now when the 40-minute timer goes off, we're going to take the lid off the polenta and we're going to let it cook uncovered for 5 more minutes. Now you can see the mushrooms have cooked down nicely, and now I'm going to add some salt. I have 1 teaspoon of salt, about a half a teaspoon of ground pepper, and then I'm adding 1/4 cup of wine, and I'm using a Madeira wine, but you could use any dry red wine that you would like. I'm going to stir that in, and now I want to let these mushrooms continue cooking until all that wine and liquid has finished evaporating, and that can take another 5 to 7 minutes. Now it's time to finish off the polenta. So I'm going to put in my 3 tablespoons of butter and my 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. And I'm going to whisk this until the butter and cheese are melted. I want to take a little spoon and just have a taste and make sure that it has enough salt. Now this is ready. Now I want to use this polenta in a soft form, so I'm going to turn the heat off, but I'm going to leave the pan right on the stove and just leave the lid on it, and this will stay nice and soft for about 20 minutes. So while the mushrooms are finishing up, the polenta is sitting here ready to go. Now can you see when I pull the mushrooms to the side, most of that liquid has evaporated, so it's time to go ahead and serve these. Now when you're ready to serve your polenta, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either dish it out individually on people's plates, or if you want to serve it family style, just get a large plate and spoon the polenta out, and then take the mushrooms and spoon them right in the center. You want to make sure that you have a little bit of border of the polenta so that you can see that nice contrast between the brown and the yellow. Then for a little bit of color, I just have some fresh parsley out of the garden, and I'm just going to pull those little leaves off. And this is ready to serve for dinner. Now if you'd like to try this polenta with mushrooms at home, just go to our website and go to the On the Side show notes, and I'll have it there for you. Don't forget to sign up so you can earn badges with our network. Join us on Facebook, and of course if you have any ideas or questions for me, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.